Uh-oh. Make sure the phone is straight. Welcome to 12 Faces of Sober Speaks podcast. This is episode 66. Tonight's guest is Valeria. And let me just say this, after just having this conversation, I think it's dope because we actually was in a similar rehab, or not similar. We were in the same rehab, but like I said, Valeria has an amazing story. We've been following each other probably, I'm gonna say at least like 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not 100% sure, but before I go in to the interview, I just want to do some homework, or not homework, but let you guys know 12facesofsober.com can get you all the 12 Faces of Sober merch, hoodies, t-shirts, beanies, hats, etc. All you got to do is log on to the website, click merchandise, and you'll be set up with the merch. I'm running a sale right now all the way up until November 16th, which is the day after my 6-year sober anniversary. 20% off. So take advantage of that, please. Also, if you want to get a signed copy of my best-selling book, 12 Faces of Sober, you can also get it on that website. All you got to do is get signed. Click the tab. Once you get on the main homepage, click on signed copy to get you a copy of the book. If not, if you don't want a signed copy, you can go on Amazon. Just type in the number 12 Faces of Sober, and you should see my face. But I'm not going to hold you guys up. We're going to jump into this interview. Let me see if she's ready. There it is. Work. There it is. Well, hello. What's going on? Happy Wednesday.
Yes. Happy Wednesday.
Welcome to 12 Faces of Sober Speaks podcast. Miss Valeria.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for asking me to come on the podcast and just talk with you. Appreciate it.
Totally honored to have you on here, especially after finding out that we had been in the same rehab facility, just different years. So I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
But like I said, welcome to the show. You pretty much have the floor. What I want you to do is, like I said, introduce yourself. Mention your handle,
Yeah.
because I tried to say it and I don't want to get it wrong, mess it up, but just let them know that, and then where they can follow you, and then we'll jump right on into the interview.
Okay. Well, everyone, my name is Valeria. I have a sobriety date, and that is February 28th of 2021. I launched my page Syzygy Mind, and that is SYZYGY_mind on Instagram and Twitter. And then the website is Syzygy Mind, SYZYGY-mind.com. And that all launched on basically my 1-year anniversary. I wanted to share my story. I didn't want to recover in silence. Like I suffered in silence all these years, and I wanted to share my story. I wanted to give back. So many people in the recovery community poured into me in that time where I was trying to get sober, and I just want to give it back. I just want to give it back to people. So
That's what's up. Now, so where did you grow up?
yeah, so I was born in North Carolina.
Okay.
Raised there until about in second grade, and then we moved to Delaware.
Okay.
In Delaware until I went to college back in North Carolina. And
Okay. What college did you attend?
I went to East Carolina University. Go Pirates.
Okay. I had a little stint in Fayetteville. I was stationed in, that was my first duty station, was at I think it's Camp Fort Victory now, I believe is the name of the base. I think they changed it.
Okay. So did you ever go to Greenville to visit ECU?
No, The only places I visited was Charlotte, Raleigh, and let me see. Wilmington in North Carolina? Yeah, I think Wilmington, Emerald of the Isles.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't get out. I didn't get out that way. Mm-mm.
Okay.
And my dad, he lives in North Carolina near I forgot what the name of that city is. Somewhere in the mountains.
Asheville,
Uh, Asheville, right outside of Asheville.
beautiful in Asheville.
Yeah, I had to drive through there. I stayed at my dad's house when I had moved back to Florida, so I spent the night at my dad's place and stuff. So how was it like for you growing up? Was were you in an environment around alcohol and drugs, or like, was that something that, you may have acquired later on in life
Yeah,
or picked up?
right. Growing up, like my parents, I never really saw my mom drinking like growing up, and my dad would have like an occasional beer like after work. So alcohol wasn't, the prevalent thing in the house. We didn't have any drugs in the house, so it was very, um, I guess what you could say, a healthy relationship with alcohol. It wasn't something that had to be in the house at any point in time.
Okay. Hello to my classmate Tamala, is an advocate for alcoholism. I won't go into details, but big shouts out to her. She's out in Texas. But yeah, so when was it that like you actually started to experiment with alcohol? At like what age was that for you?
I was 18, so I guess,
18.
yeah, what I've heard, that's kind of a late bloomer.
Okay.
Yeah, I had, in high school, I was an athlete, so I hung out with all the athletes, but like the group of girls on the basketball team, we kind of all like grew up together from middle school to high school. Um, and our guardians, our caregivers just didn't like let us get into that kind of stuff or like leave it open for us. It wasn't like,
Mm,
hey, I'm the cool mom, like you can drink at our house. Like we didn't have anybody in our friend group that was whose parents were like that.
okay. Okay. So I mean, you got started late, so that sounds like, after high school. So this must have been something you experimented once you got to college.
Yeah, yeah.
So how was that? Like, some people, like I said, I went to a whole lot of colleges. I went to four before I got my bachelor's, two before I got my master's degree. So how was that college life and alcohol? Like, I know that a lot of people started partying, at least up here in Minnesota, Wednesday night, Wednesday evenings, they was already getting ready to go to the bar. So how was that college life for you?
Yeah, so I also ran track in college.
Okay.
Well, we stayed in the athletic dorm, and I mean, I was away from home, and I was like, well, whatever people are doing, that's what I'm going to do. So, we had older teammates that would throw parties. When we first got on campus, they would come see who was at the athletic dorm and like, we have a barbecue, come out here, come over there. Um, so I kind of started experimenting like within the first couple of months of getting to ECU. And
Mm,
at that time, I mean, I started college in 2006. So ECU was like a top 10 party school at that time. So there was always something going on. There was always
mm,
one. But I drank with other people then, but it wasn't like, oh, it's Wednesday night, I need to go out. I was like, oh, it's Wednesday night, I got an 8 a.m. class on Thursday, and then we got practice. So I was more like, I'm going to have fun, but I'm also here to do a job. Um,
mm.
so alcohol didn't consume me during my college.
Okay. So now you experience the college life. You got to experiment to a certain degree as far as alcohol. So now you're out, as they say, the real world. Now, how was it like then? Like, was it, did it start to, did it pick up, once you got out of college? Or was it something that you faced in life to where it was like, okay, now I'm masking the pain with alcohol?
Ooh, that's good. So kind of two parts to that. So I ended up going to grad school, and
Okay.
my eligibility for my 4 years of track. So I stopped playing sports. And that was like the first time since I was 5 that I hadn't been playing any sports. And so I kind of noticed like a change in my demeanor.
Okay.
Grad school, people are going out to the bar after class, and that's kind of like where you socialize. And, I would drink every now and then. I didn't think it was an issue at that time. Um, but when I got out of grad school, I noticed I would come home and me and one of my brothers, we would, kind of wind down and drink, um, just in the bedroom, just chilling, talking about our days. Um, and it was more of like a relaxing thing, but I needed it to relax.
Mm.
So I could tell something was off. Like in grad school when I felt like I needed it. And then when I got out of grad school, like I felt like I kind of needed it just to relax or to feel loose. I thought maybe it could be kind of an issue, but I didn't say, oh, I shouldn't drink anymore. I just kind of like, eh, you know, I don't drink all the time right now, so it's not an issue because
Mm.
my thought of an alcoholic or someone who has an alcohol dependence problem is somebody that's drinking all the time and like
Mm.
they don't have things, they've gotten in trouble, and like I wasn't experiencing that at 25, so I didn't I didn't think I had an issue
Okay.
or would have an
And
issue.
then, so at that point, um, you know, when did it like truly became a problem? Because I saw something, or I was reading on your blog, one of the excerpts was that you had went and did laundry, and it was you had, you had the bottles tucked in the laundry or whatever, and it reminded me of something I did at my mom's house, literally like right before I got out. I would always try to hide the bottles of alcohol from her, but come to find out I was hiding them from myself because she found them once I got into rehab that last time. So like when did you really feel like it was a problem? Did those around you say something, or was it something to where it was like, all right, yeah, this is starting to take over my life?
Yeah, so it was progressive, right? So um I ended up moving to St. Louis in 2013, and
Okay.
I want to say at that point in time my daughter's father and I went to a wedding in 2014, and they had wine at the wedding, and like, I had drank my wine and then I had drank somebody else's wine, and then somebody was like, oh, do you want mine? I was like, oh yeah, sure. And
Mm.
my daughter's father made a comment like, yeah, I mean, if you think she's drinking a lot now, like she kills bottles at home. And I was
Mm.
and I'm like, why are you telling all my business like that? And so
Mm.
that was kind of like a first inkling, like, okay, maybe like I'm embarrassed that he's saying that. So maybe like that's a problem.
Mm.
But that was in 2014. I didn't go to rehab till 2021. Um,
Okay.
so there was a lot of other times where, people were mentioning things to me, going to work smelling like alcohol,
Mm.
eyes being bloodshot. I had one coworker like actually was like, are you good? Like, did you go out last night? Cause like I can smell you.
Mm.
Oh, and so that just kind of made me not want to go around people at work. Like, because
Mm.
drinking, I still wanted to drink. I just will make sure people can't smell me
Mm.
like distance. And then yeah, like you mentioned that excerpt from the blog about just hiding the alcohol in my laundry, and that was probably like that was the last 6 months of my drinking, where I was
Okay.
hiding the bottles in my laundry to bring in the house. It's just me and my daughter here, so I don't really know who I was hiding it from. But like you said, myself and my neighbors. So I thought my neighbors were watching me. Like I
Mm.
saw me every time I came in the house carrying a black bag. That here in Maryland they put your alcohol in a black plastic bag.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's. I think that might be like the hood store ritual. They definitely keep those black bags on deck.
So
So that now let's see. Would you consider that, you know even though your daughter's father had mentioned that to you, do you think that you were more so like in denial about it, or it was just like, nah, I don't have an issue, I don't have a problem, despite the fact that, this person is around you and can actually, what I'm saying, see things that you don't see.
right, I think at that time, 2014, I was just like, why is he telling our in the house business to people that like I don't know like that? Like, okay, I have a bottle of wine, but like everybody has a bottle of wine every now and then. So that's how I felt then. But looking at it now, I'm like, I mean, he was on to something. I just
Mhm.
didn't realize that he was seeing things that I didn't see when I was drinking.
Okay. And then so when at one point, at what point did you say enough is enough and you decided to seek help? Was it like something health related, or did you get into any kind of trouble, or did your family do like an intervention, or your friends? What was it like for you?
There were several times. So all throughout the time I was drinking, I was in therapy, and
Okay.
black therapist. I had a black psychiatrist and a black therapist, and they both were like, if you stop drinking so much, think you might see a change in your depression or your anxiety. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not really drinking that much. Um, and that was me minimizing because I was also drinking before going to therapy. So I know they could smell me when I was in their office. Um,
Mm,
so my actual therapist, I mean, it took her, she was like, I can make it sound good to your command. Like, you're just going to be gone for 28 days. It's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And I was like, I'm not that bad. And that's 2016. Um,
mm,
there was a time in 2019 where I was like, maybe I'll go to, the voluntary treatment. So like I started voluntary treatment and the director of the program was kind of like, so do you want to stop drinking or do you want to just like cut back? And I was like, I can never stop drinking. Like, let's just try to cut back. And so we talked
mm,
about different things that we could do. All the while I'm still drinking the same amount I was before. So it was like, I wanted to like have this facade that I was getting help because that was enough. Like I need to look like I'm getting help because then maybe it'll like bleed over and like I'll stop drinking, or I need to look like I'm at least trying. And I think that
mm.
like just rationalizing with myself. And then finally in 2020, like when the pandemic started, um, just me having this whole like meltdown because they were closing all nothing that essential services were the only things that were going to be open. And so, as we know, liquor stores were considered essential. They never closed the liquor stores during the pandemic. Um,
Mm-mm.
so I was able to get my alcohol then. Um, but I had a temporary duty station where I needed to like be there at 5:30 in the morning. I was working from 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and I was having to drive an hour each way. Luckily, there was no traffic at this point in time. So that's 14, 15-hour day. And I was like, I need to be on it because I'm going to be with doctors. I'm going to be with nurses. I'm going to be with people who like can tell. Right.
Mm.
Um, and that worked for like a week. Um, and my grandfather got sick during COVID and he was in the army. He did a lot of like self work for on himself. He ended up passing away, and like I just kind of like that was a moment when I started like kind of seeing who he was, what he did for our family, how he worked on himself, and like that was a moment I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to like use the opportunities that he's created for our family to do something better with my life. Um, and that thought kept me going for like 54 days throughout the summer. And then I started
Mm.
again. Um, so there were a lot of times where I really wanted to stop and I really was trying to seek help. Um, but it took until February of 2021 for me to say, okay, no, I'm done. Like something has to change.
Okay. And then um, let me see. Before I ask the question where you did rehab at, do you think that that despite the fact that you were in therapy and you were still actively drinking, did you take anything from the therapy at all, or it was just like, okay, I'm here, I'm checking the boxes, and it's not really helping because you were still going there intoxicated. So what did you take anything from that?
Um, Looking back now, I see that they were giving me everything that I needed. I just was like, psh, 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 no, I don't want it. Nope, I'm good. I'm fine. Making excuses for myself. My
Mm,
biggest excuse was like, I'm not that bad. Because again, I thought that like I needed to like have legal problems, lose my job, get into trouble for alcohol to really be affecting my life. And I needed that thought of like the stereotype of having like needing other people to see the failure and all the impact that it's having, when
Mm.
that's not that's not true at all. No one needs to know the impact that it's having. If you think that you have a problem with alcohol, if you're scheduling your days around when you're going to drink, or your meetings around when you're going to drink, that's a problem. Other people
Yeah. Yeah.
do see that. When you start prioritizing alcohol over your day-to-day activities, your day-to-day needs, um, it's a problem.
Mm. And hello, the journey of a butterfly. She might be able to remember this because we used to work together when I got sent to the same rehab that you went to in 2014. So what was the name of that place?
I went to Fort Belvoir Community Hospital in
And in what city and state was that?
Alexandria, Virginia.
2014. I was in that very same rehab when I was a victim of domestic violence, and the Army sent me there, or I was going to get kicked out. So when I left in 2014, Mrs. Reed, that's where I was at. They just said they removed me for 30 days. I was in Fort Belvoir. Well, I'm sure that the rumor got out anyway, but yeah. So how was that? How was that stint in Fort Belvoir for you?
It was great. It was the best thing that could happen to me, honestly.
Mm,
Um, I was so against going to rehab because I was like, I can do this on my own. I don't have a problem. Somebody else can use this bed. Like, I was
mm,
so against it. Um, but I ended up in the emergency room with alcohol withdrawal symptoms.
mm,
Oh, that was bad. And I had called my parents and stuff like that. And so like I was like, dang, I called my parents. So like now I got to do something about it.
mm,
Because they kind of, they hold me accountable, and I didn't want to. One thing I didn't want to start was a cycle of telling other people and really getting deep into like what was going on with me, and then not making a change. So when I'm not holding
mm.
myself accountable, that's one thing. But I guess the people pleaser in helped in the situation, because I don't want my parents to be disappointed that you know I say I have this problem and I'm not getting help for it.
Mhm.
And so I mean, I'm okay with that, because it got me to the place where I needed to be to get into rehab. But Fort Belvoir was wonderful. I needed to be separated from alcohol. Like I needed to be like physically not able to access alcohol to move forward.
Okay. Yeah, Fort Belvoir wasn't a bad rehab facility. It was just kind of tough for me because they would take us to the gym every morning at like 5, like for PT and everything. And then you had to walk around with a white bracelet. And then people would come up to you like, why do you have this white bracelet on? I don't know if they did that for you, but I know they definitely did it for me. And it was a point where like I would get so frustrated whenever those days we go to the gym, I'd tear the white wristband off. I was like, nah, I'm a regular person. I was like, I'm cool.
I was always trying to tuck mine in my shirt, and then on Saturdays and Sundays we go to the PX, and so
Hmm.
we're walking around the PX with chaperones.
Hmm.
We look real scraggly because we don't have our regular civilian clothes. You just got kind of like chill clothes. Yeah, I remember hiding my bracelet. I don't want nobody to know. Hope I don't see nobody at the PX while I'm there at the the commissary.
But yeah, the good thing about it for me is that I was coming from El Paso, Texas, so even what I'm saying, nobody would have known who I was. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was pretty cool. But I swear, like, ladies and gentlemen, I did not know this probably before about 20, 30 minutes ago, but I thought that was like really, really, really interesting. But so you do your time in rehab, and so what was your plan once you got out?
My plan once I got out was to stick with the Army's like 1 year, no alcohol. We got to go through drug tests, do the group therapy and stuff like that. I was going to do that, and then I was going to start drinking again. Like that's
Okay.
what I told my therapist when I got out. I was like,
Mm,
yeah, I can do the 1 year. Like that's cool. Finish the program, but I'm definitely going to drink again. I can't imagine my life without drinking. And she's
mm,
like, like really? After all this? Like in the best way that like a therapist can look at you with that face. Um,
mhm,
but as time went on, I became I became okay with not having another drink. Um, I didn't need it, and I started learning how to like operate without it. Um, and it doesn't that doesn't happen overnight. And for seven years, I was drinking for 7 years, like a lot. So
mm.
to go into rehab and be separated for 30 days, you know, I mean, it takes a little bit longer than that to maybe make a final determination, especially because I didn't have consequences to my actions. I went there voluntarily. Um,
I was forced. I was mandated to go by the dang U.S. Army.
oh,
It was, yeah, it was something serious. Even though, like I said, I was the victim and I still had to go. Oh, you know what? I wanted to mention something that I read, and if you guys haven't done so yet, please follow Valeria. Her blog gives you the greatest description of some of the moments in her life. But I thought it was interesting how when you was in the hospital and your friend had came up there to bring you some items for you during the pandemic, and knowing that, okay, during that time, they weren't really letting anybody come into the hospitals. And I thought that was interesting how the nurse was coming in to change the shift and was like, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. We're about to change shifts and everything, just kind of, giving you a warning. And so that was interesting to know that, like, or a good thing, knowing that, okay, you have the backing of friends and family that looks out for you. Because sometimes when people are faced with these type of situations, get sent to rehab, they don't have the friends, they don't have the family that's looking out for them and stuff like that. So I really wanted to just give kudos to your friend for looking out for you and breaking the rules, based off of, off the pandemic of not being able to enter a hospital. So I thought that was interesting. Now that you're out of rehab, did you and they gave you a year? Because I'm gonna be honest, like, I think they gave me a treatment plan kind of similar to that. But once I knew that my chaperone, he flew from Fort Bliss, he came from El Paso, and he had picked me up when we were flying back to Texas. He was drinking on the plane. Or no, he like disappeared at the airport at what's it, Reagan International. And so he went to the bar. I'm over here ordering food, and then all of a sudden he's sitting next to me. And I'm like, man, this dude smell like alcohol. So this is my, what I'm saying? I'm fresh out of rehab. My chaperone is sitting here drinking, and I'm like, this not helping me.
right.
And so, of course, at that time, the first thing I wanted to do was, once I got off the plane, I wanted to drink. And like I said, it took me, that was 2014, so it took me 2 more years in order to say, okay, enough was enough. So although you said that you gave yourself a year, you did that. You fulfilled that year, or did you break the rules within that, or not?
No, I didn't. I fulfilled that year.
Okay.
I was terrified. I was terrified. I was terrified to drink again because, one, I thought I was gonna die. Like, I had lost about 30 pounds before I had gone into rehab, and I had symptoms of like wet brain, so like mind foggy, all that kind of stuff. My thiamine was super low. I was not in good shape, so I was really terrified of drinking it. I was doing anything to stay away from alcohol. Because at the end, I would find myself in like the parking lots of liquor stores and like find myself like buying something and walking out, and it was like this out of body experience that I kept having. So like I just knew, like, okay, if I stay in the house, and I was lucky, like my parents stayed with me for 2 months. So for rehab, somebody was with me, like an adult over the age 18 was with me for like the next 2 months at any given time. So I was really lucky to be able to have that and have people that were one, that it was still the pandemic, people were able to work remotely, because I don't know if that was possible if that was not happening at that time. But two, that people were like, hey, no, we're going to help you through this. And it's hard for me to accept help, and I asked my parents for help, and like they came through. They always come through. I just have a hard time asking for help.
Yeah, and that's that. I would honestly say that is key, because, as I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned on the live, but I was married when I was at Fort Belvoir in 2014. And, when you had the, like you said, the Saturdays, you go to the USO. We're not supposed to be on social media. I'm in on Facebook. I'm seeing my ex-wife with a wine glass. I'm like, okay, this ain't helping me. So of course I'm like, okay, well, I need to get home so I can go drink with her, type of stuff. Instead of having the mindset like, all right, I don't need to be drinking anymore.
Right.
And so that to me is really, and I commend you on that in terms of at least giving it a try and not drinking for that whole entire year. But then now here it is, the year is passed. So what got you back, that led you back to drinking?
Mm-hmm. We like if that were to happen. Yeah, I would definitely say like it would just be me not reaching out to people,
Mhm.
me hiding again. I did my drinking alone. Um,
Mhm.
um, I didn't want people to know what was going on with me. So what I have found is that like building like authentic relationships with other people, being myself, like, not being, overbearing and like that. I can have like a lot of energy at times. But like just being myself and saying what I need and being okay with people not being able to meet my needs
Mhm.
and not trying to force things to happen. And so some of that people pleasing I talked about earlier, I had to let that go. You know,
Mhm.
that people pleasing got me to rehab because I wanted to please, the people that I had called and reached out to. But, overall, as a general theme of life, I had to let people pleasing go and really focus on like um, what I need in life.
And so how was the cravings for you when you first began
Yeah,
your sobriety?
all I sugar, like all I
Okay.
alcohol is sugar, alcohol
Hmm.
sugar, and I mean, I found we have a store called Wegmans here, and they make wonderfully delicious baked goods. And so I got into eating cherry pie, apple pie, ice cream, Hershey Kisses, like anything that was sweet. Every time I had a craving or felt like I needed to drink, like I was like eating candy, or I was getting on a meeting. Everything was still virtual, so I would just get on a meeting and then like hear other people's stories, and it just reminded me of where I was because the craving is there. But when I'm reminded like what I was doing before I went to rehab, I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually not worth doing that again. Like boxing was really bad, and that 30 days being away from my daughter sucked. I feel so much better now. Like, let's let this craving just kind of like ride the wave.
Mm. And I've been to Wegmans too. I went to Wegmans, I think in Maryland,
Oh,
as a matter of fact.
I love it.
Yeah, I've been there before. It's a nice little plush supermarket.
Yes, yes, it is.
So, now, how was your health? I know you had mentioned a lot of, well, I can say a lot, but you had health issues, going in to getting sober. So, how has your health? Has it improved? Has it gotten better? Things of that sort.
Yeah, my health has gotten better. My appetite is great. You know, they say after you hit 30, like you start like getting into like your grown man or your grown woman weight. Well, I was drinking from 30 to 33. So like I didn't feel like that weight was coming because I was, just drinking my calories. But now that I'm sober, I'm starting to see that like grown woman weight. And so I like it. I like to say I'm slim thick. Um,
Look, I was the opposite. Like I was, let me see, uh, 50 pounds heavier than what I am today. And this was in the military, mind you. And like almost the moment that I, eliminated alcohol, it was like the weight just melted off and has stayed off this whole duration. And so that's why I asked the question in terms of health, because I had health issues. My pancreas had gave out when I was in, well, almost did when I was in, right before I got sober in 2016. Blood pressure high, on all kinds of medication. Now I don't even have to take all that medication that I once had to. So that's why I thought I asked that question. Now, now that you are sober, what are some activities that you enjoy doing?
Oh man. I always love me a good DIY project around the house. So whether it's, painting or trying to remodel my bathroom, I'm up for that. But the thing that I started like immediately when I got home from rehab was my garden.
Okay.
I went
And,
some wood at Lowe's, had them cut it for me. I didn't research anything. I just needed to be doing something. So I was like, I'm going to pick a garden bed. So I had them cut the planks of wood to 4 equal sections. And then I came home and I was nailing stuff together. And it's out there still today. It's holding up, but it's not as sturdy as, it could have been with proper planning.
Yeah.
But I love my garden. Grow tomatoes, sunflowers. I love sunflowers. This year I had some peppers. My tomatoes didn't do so great this year. Like lots of herbs and stuff. And I had a couple strawberries. So it's, low maintenance gardening, but it's nice to see something like I'm nurturing something else myself. When I'm feeling squirrely, as I like to call it, like I just go outside and play in the dirt, and that feels good to me.
That's what I look forward to next year. Hopefully, Lord willing, I can get a house and have a big, decent sized backyard, so I can do nothing but gardening for real. I got that green thumb from my mom, and I definitely want to keep it going. So, why do you think it's important today to keep yourself busy doing those activities?
Like along with my drinking, like I suffer from depression and anxiety, and even when I was little, like I always had like these thoughts in my head, like negative thoughts, like negative self-talk. And so that negative self-talk like can really spiral out of control, and like you just want to like make it stop, like just shut up. And I think at one point in time I used drinking to do that. So I have to be careful to not get too deep into my thoughts and let myself spiral. So staying busy in that sense is like really like helpful for me.
Okay. And then let me see. Now I have two quotes that I found on your page that I found to be interesting. I almost revealed them,
You did.
but I wanted to get your reaction in real time, and you could touch on both of them. The first one is, you have to get honest with yourself before you can be honest with those around you. Now, you mind touching on that one?
Yeah. I didn't think I had a problem. I didn't think I had a problem. So if I didn't think I had a problem, how can I even approach anything else in my life? During the time I was drinking, I had a couple failed relationships, and I wanted to talk about why were things this way, and why can't you do this, or why do I do that, or why can't we connect? And the why was, mainly a big part of that why is because I was drinking so much. I drank to keep people away from me, because I was afraid of like that crazy level of commitment that these serious relationships were bringing. But I couldn't see that. I wasn't being honest with myself that I had a problem with alcohol.
Mm, okay. And then I had three, but I only wrote down two. But the second one is, you can get through difficult things without alcohol. So now you've been sober now almost 3 years, right?
Almost,
Is it 3?
almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years? Okay, I'm sorry. Like obviously life still continues now that you're sober. It don't stop. So you're gonna have those good days. You're gonna have those bad good days and bad days. So what are some things that you do now to get through those difficult times?
I cry. I let myself cry.
Okay.
I journal. I pick up the phone and I talk to somebody about how I'm feeling instead of keeping it in. Keeping your emotions in, like, it's not a great thing.
Mm,
Builds up, it builds up, builds up, builds up, and you want to keep pushing it down. Like when you've been doing that for so long, you want to just keep pushing it down, and you'll do whatever it takes to keep those emotions like at bay. And you don't have to do that. You can let them out. Let the emotions out. Let it happen. Experience it. Feel it for that moment, and then let it go. If you have to revisit it, revisit it. But don't think that you have to like drown your emotions with alcohol
mm.
to get through.
And And then I forgot to ask you this, but it just popped in my mind. I know you had mentioned about the therapist that you had prior to your drinking. Do you still have those therapists today,
I don't.
or you don't? Okay, I was going to say, how do they view you now, knowing that you have made that transformation? But
One of my therapists, I found her on Facebook. Right, like, ethics 101, like, can't have those outside conversations with your people. But I did find her on Facebook, and I let her know. I said, hey, when I hit my year, I let her know that I hit a year. Um, when I started doing, like, stuff for syzygy and like wanting to share my story, like I just sent her a little thing like, hey, this is what I'm doing with my life now. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in me, because I didn't believe I could ever get sober. And she would just talk about how great being sober was, and you don't have to drink so much alcohol, and like just kind of like a in passing kind of conversation. She didn't really harp on it too much, but I'm thankful that she said those things, and I'm thankful that I was sober enough in those moments to hear her say those things and to remember them nowadays. That she was, really, she was rooting for me.
okay. And so far, what has sobriety taught you?
Mm. Sobriety has taught me that I can speak up for myself. I can have my own thoughts and feelings, and if people don't agree with that, that's okay. I know I've kind of touched about like my people pleasing, so like I always needed what I thought to be what you wanted me to think, so we could stay cool and like there would be no like tension or anything like that. And now I'm just becoming like a stronger advocate for how I feel and what I need in relationships, friendships, working relationships. I just have a bigger voice for myself. And if somebody tells me no or somebody doesn't agree with me, it's not the end of the world. And I don't need to go drink over that.
Right. Okay. Now, here's a hotbed question that I do enjoy asking, and I'm not ashamed. How can we have the discussion about what drugs and alcohol is doing to the Black community?
That's a big one. We got to be willing to have the discussions like you and I are having right now. It's still taboo in our community to talk about, you know, we know, okay, we know the uncle over there, he has a drinking problem or they're on drugs. We don't really talk about it. We just know that's what they do. We don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about, you know, harm reduction, or we don't talk about helping them get sober. And maybe not necessarily helping them, but like just push them in the right direction, not being enablers in the sense of like, okay, if we have cookouts or something like that, we invite that uncle, but we know we got the alcohol sitting out there. We know he's going to drink all of it, like kind of changing, just shifting the environment for people in our families who might be going through that, when we're not going to say anything out loud directly to them about it, like shifting the environment to make it so maybe they won't, I don't know, like that we're not enabling that. It's a loaded question. It's really hard because like there's all the the decision trees of if this then this, yes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe so, like so. But I think just having more open and candid conversations about what addiction can look like,
Mm-hmm.
resources out there for people, and for families that go through it and deal with it, teaching healthy boundaries for people. Um, and for some, those boundaries like cutting those family members off. For others, those boundaries look like, hey, you can only be around us when you're sober, or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. It's hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because the reason why I asked the question, because I was that uncle. I was that drunk uncle, and I can remember like maybe 2011. My mom turned 60, and I flew in from I think I was in North Carolina, I believe, and I had before the once the party started getting started popping or whatever, I had to leave.
mhm.
They was like, "Nah, you got to go back to the hotel. You're not staying here tonight." So but yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, a lot of times I would say, at least I know in my family, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, that we didn't, my dad had a very open drinking problem. I mean, we lived like when I was raised in San Diego, and the military police would come to the military housing, and we didn't, my mom didn't pull us, at least not me, pull me to the side and say, hey, your dad is struggling with this and this and that, or even the discussion of mental health issues. And so those are the type of things that we shouldn't be embarrassed to have. And that's why I say, like, our generation, and especially with social media, is that, we can have those discussions and be public with it, because this stuff needs to be addressed. We're losing people left and right. There are people that are going to prison. There are people that lives are just cut short because they're not being educated. And I'm not going to say blame these youngsters, but they're also grown adults too, and they also got to be responsible for that. But there's nothing wrong with being sober. There's nothing wrong with living your life like this, because obviously you and I are able to do it. You know what I'm saying? And reaping all the rewards and being able to actually see than having those blinders on. You know what I mean? So, but that's a good answer. There's not a wrong answer to that one. I just like to ask it just to see and everything. But before we close, I usually let the guest say some good words in terms of those who are that are kind of straddling the fence as far as drinking, or they know that they have a problem, or they wake up and say, yeah, I'm going to quit January 1st, or I'm going to quit on my birthday, or whatever. What advice would you give them? That's one question. Two is advice. What would you give to someone that's early in sobriety that is still kind of like, man, I could maybe do it for a year. I could maybe do it for 6 months, but I don't know if I can make this my new lifestyle.
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first.
Okay.
So say for those people with early sobriety, find, find people that you can hang with that don't drink. Um, Go to therapy, and I say go to therapy, and I'm saying that to myself too. So I'm not in therapy right now. I need to find a therapist, but everybody needs a good therapist, whether you're sober or you're sober curious, or you're able to drink alcohol and put it down and don't like crave it and things like that. Everybody needs a therapist, just to talk through like life things with. But for that person in early sobriety, a therapist, find you a community of sober people that you can hang out with. Ask for help, because people want to help you. um, Despite what you may think, people want to help you, people want to see you succeed. um, and just remember why you started. Remember why you started on your sobriety journey. What were those things that drove you in the beginning? Are those things still relevant to you today, or do you need to find something else to like keep you going in your sobriety? So there's, like you said, there's nothing wrong with being sober. There's nothing wrong with not drinking. Just and you have to be okay with that.
Right.
You're not missing out on anything.
Okay. All right, Valeria. This pretty much, unless you have anything else you want to share, I truly appreciate the transparency. I like what the main purpose for me of doing this is like trying to see, the commonality amongst my guests. I did not think that we were going to be, saying that we were in the same rehab. So, well, at least one, because I went to 4 different rehabs before I got sober. And so that's that's my mission, is just to see how we can kind of pull it together, and then be able to thank you for the compliment. Appreciate that. But yeah, so it's just more or less of, trying to educate others in terms of like, okay, we may have made mistakes, we may have hid this and hid that, but we made the change for the better. And now we're, accepting, okay, yeah, we had the problem, but life is much better today. And those are the words that I heard come from you. And so, like I said, I'm forever thankful for you coming on. I have a few ventures that's coming up, and I would definitely want you to be a part of it. I just need the other partner to get on board. She's been busy working like crazy, so I haven't been really been bothering her. But like first, thanks for everybody to come, tuning in. Thanks for the comments. And like I said, I do, Valeria, wish you nothing but the continued blessings as far as sobriety, because I love it. And like I said, I celebrate 6 years next week, and by far was the best decision for me. And get the trust back from your friends, your family, and not to worry about me calling at 1 o'clock in the morning with a drunk story, or I'm mad at my ex-wife or whatever. So, but how's your project going? Oh, you got a project? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Is there any other ventures you got going? Did I miss that part?
Yeah, but like you were flowing.
Oh, I'm done. I'm done. I'm
No,
good. What you got? I'm sorry. I usually do that too. I don't know why. See, I stopped writing questions. But go ahead. What you got? What's the ventures you have before we part?
yeah, so one of the things that I'm working on right now with Syzygy is that I'm creating hygiene kits to donate to a local organization in Baltimore that focuses on like addiction and or recovery services. So we want to get
Okay.
kits together to be able to hand out, and that's just my way right now of just trying to connect to the community. Um, and also eventually with Syzygy want to be able to bring like wellness programming, like meditation and yoga at low cost or no cost to sober living homes that have people of color or Black women there.
Mhm.
So it's just some things that have floated around my mind. I know there's a lot of us out there like women of color um, that are in recovery, and it's not something that everybody talks about. But for the people that are recovering out loud or people that aren't, they can find somewhere where they can like have a community of other women of color in recovery. I just want to be able to create that. Um,
Mhm.
I want, like I said earlier, like I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to give back. My sobriety has given me so much. Um, and people in recovery have given me so much and like so freely. So I want to be able to give that back to others.
Did someone say happy birthday? Is today your birthday?
Not my birthday. Happy birthday for you, celebrating 6 years of sobriety.
Oh, I'm like, wait, I'm like, dang, how did I miss that part? Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, yes. Listen, it's been a crazy road studying in South Africa. I listen, I did it all sober, you know what I mean? So in my grad school, so I like I said, I wouldn't trade this for the world. Please believe it. Like I love it. I love it to the fullest. And hopefully my family does throw this big party for me this weekend so we can eat some catfish, because I sure looking forward to eating some catfish and some French fries. Okay, stop playing with me. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Those who stayed, the majority, or came in a little bit later, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. Stay tuned. I have another interview tomorrow night, same time. I'm trying to stay busy as much as I can, and like I said, you know, I wish you the best of luck. And as far as the Black sober community, that's what I have working on. So I know that they're out there. I'm just trying to bring us all together.
I appreciate
So just
it. Thank you.
yeah, be on the lookout for that. And again, thank you so much for sharing your story. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes another wonderful episode of 12 Faces Sober Speaks podcast. And I will see you guys again soon. And like I said, thank you, Valeria, for coming on. I appreciate you.
Have a good one. Thank you.
All right, you too now. All right, goodbye.